Hi guys, so I yesterday picked up the Nikon D810, adding it to my small collection of cameras, and as the second vlog I wanted to touch on the equipment I use for my YouTube channel for taking snaps of the watches that I like, when I'm going on holidays, vacation, that sort of stuff, and for street photography, portraits, which are the kind of snap is the style I generally go for at the moment. I am hoping to get into shooting birds in flight, bit of wildlife, but that's for later on. And as a wristwatch check, at least since it's the early hours of the morning, I'm wearing my Royal Oak AP, and right now this clip is being shot on the Canon 70D, and off to on that side where I have the Joby 5 kilo capable DSLR Gorilla pod wrapped around kind of like the top part of a chair, and that's looking down here at what's on the table. So right here is the 70D, the D810, and this morning I was able to take a couple of test shots. I was able to take some low ISO shots and high ISO testing as well. So for low light, I posted a couple of samples on my Instagram and Twitter, and so right now this has got the 85mm 1.8G lens. So that's, I'm just taking the hood off, and so now what I want to do in this video is to compare the D810 to the 5D Mark III, because before I bought this I was going through practically every video on YouTube, and there wasn't one that ever considered the case of someone who owns a 5D Mark III but is considering of getting the D810 as well. All the clips on YouTube are on about which one is better, or a comparison of the two cameras, never about adding it to your equipment. Now, I was on the Freenode IRC. I've been on since I was 8 years old, on IRC generally, but I was on the Photo Geeks channel, and most of the chaps there recommended that I do not buy the Nikon, because their argument was it's always good to have bodies of the same brand because you have a backup, and you can share your lenses across them, obviously. But my use case is very different. I'm just someone who's enthusiastic about photography. It's not my day job. So for my purposes, the 5D Mark III is the body that I carry around, and for that camera I have the Canon 70-200 what do you call, telephoto lens, well, short telephoto. I'm offsetting some boxes on this side just to try and get it out. Let me see if I can get to it quickly enough. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So there we go. This is the 70-200. I've actually owned the first version when I started out on DSLR back in the day when I had a 20D, and this is the version 2, and it is my absolute favorite lens of all time. At 200 mil, what do you call, it is, well, it's stack sharp right throughout the range. but at 200 the bokeh is just out of this world. And as Tony Northrup has described in a lot of his videos, this doesn't have the focus breathing issue that the Nikon equivalent has. So this is pretty much the best in class 70-200 f2.8 that I'm aware of, at least. And so this is my main go-to lens on the 5D3, but for street photography this has two issues. One, it stands out a lot. You get noticed. You get tagged as the obvious tourist. It's ironic, I go to various towns in my home country and people think I'm a tourist because I've got a DSLR or two DSLRs and this thing on me. So for my general purpose, I have the Sigma 50mm prime, which is being used to shoot the stuff from that side. And so that is my go-to lens on the 5D3 for street photography, walking around. And so my thinking was I wanted a second camera to basically allow me to have a different focal length, but something that's also good for headshots and street photography. And I didn't want to go for, so obviously of course the 85mm prime was the focal length that I considered, and it suited my needs because first of all Mac Ranger has a lot of what you call useful clips, but his particular one was the video on the Nikon Holy Trinity and that helped me make up my mind about the 85. And having contacted Tony, I was able to also compare the 85 with the D810 on DxO Mark. And what was interesting and surprising was it has a resolution of image resolution capability of 26 perceived MPix, which is probably one of the highest I have seen, apart from the Canon 5D SR, because that's a much bigger sensor, and therefore with certain lenses it pushes well past 26. I think it goes up to around 33 or even 43, a very, very high figure. And then also going through quite a few of the clips on the D810, you can see that Tony's favorite, just loves this camera. There's a recent video of Matt going to Peru, and he's got the D5, but he's still taking a 200 f2.8 with the D810. So that says something about this body. Yes, so those were the two. So the two main factors was that it was popular. It has a very good track record for shooting in cases of low light, and having a good, the best in class, as they say, dynamic range. And the fact that this pushes its perceived resolution basically to around 26, which is even more than the 70-200 and the 5D3. This only does about 21, and I think that 5 odd difference, it does have an impact on the images. I posted a snap this morning of my morning Nespresso, and you can just see the crema, the froth, the bubbles. They're just popping right off Lightroom. So my workstation is a 5K Retina. It's not a Retina. It's a 5K iMac, and the images on that are stunning. And this camera is really doing it justice. That's for sure. So I'm really quite pleased with the outcome. And then a couple other things I noticed. in this camera compared to the Canons, there's a lot more buttons. There's a whole lot more buttons. So for example, you get a function button here. When you push the function button, it shows up two pointers on the viewfinder that lets you correct your horizon horizontally and vertically. And then if you push this button, that lets you check, but basically preview the depth of field. And of course all these buttons are completely reprogrammable. And over here you have, I can start it, let's see, we have the pop-up flash, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it can be used as fill flash. There's a bracketing, for taking bracketing shots, there's a button over there. There is a flash power compensation switch over here, so you can basically use this and dial it down to about negative 1.7, 2 point whatever, and it just reduces the power on the flash. So you can have basically another flash that's acting as optical slave, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. And then you have this really cool thing which I haven't seen before, is an autofocus manual switch which sits right at the bottom. So normally what happens is you have this choice on the lens, like even here you can have manual auto or just manual but every lens has a different configuration. And for example on this one and a lot of the Canons, you have a whole lot of buttons to choose from. So you have to first of all know your gear, and that's fine, but imagine you have a lot of gear. The fact that you can set that override on the body and you just know exactly where it is. So you just flick it this way and you set it to manual, and then the body just ignores whatever setting is on the lens, which is fantastic. And then there's also a side button here which is really cool, and that's the one that you would use for picking a lot of the options. So for example, if I'm okay, can't decide whether it's dark or night or dark because of the display light in the room, but if I were to choose this, you can switch to choosing your AF modes. So for example, there's AFS single, and there's the AFC, which is the one where it uses all the points and tracks away. So right now I'm on single and single point. And I normally shoot in aperture priority. I have basically enabled RAW. I've set auto ISO. Basically I've configured auto ISO with a limit. I've set the limit at about, I think, 2000-ish, and the lowest ISO is 64. What else have I done? I configured a few of the stuff there. Oh yeah, there's there's a neat record button which can be just assigned for something else. The mode selector is from here. This is your this is the compensation. You have to hold this button down. So the whole point on this is it's very different to the Canons. You hold one button and then you use this, use this rear wheel to dial things in, which is quite different to how things are done on the Canon. You don't have this. So what they've done is you extend the programmability by having this whole aspect of holding one button down and turning another wheel. So like for example here I can choose ISO up here and then just turn this, and I think that's pretty neat. It's and it's on RAW. What else? I think that's about it. But the battery is, I've just been shooting a bit this morning. I've been putting through a bit of its paces and the battery's already yeah, a little bit down, but one bar down. What else is there to say on this? Oh yeah, so you will notice that I've also gone for peak design stuff. I basically purchased the peak design slide, which is the strap that goes around your body, and the clutch, which is basically the hand grip. And I also got the Capture Pro. So just with those three, I ended up getting enough spare of these anchor points. So right now I've got, I think, about 3 anchor points on going on 3 cameras, just from just buying those 3 products. And I've also got 3 plates, because they send you some extra plates. So there are 3 Arca plates. I'm not using one because on my 70D I've fitted a Manfrotto 200 PL plate for the 322 grip ball head. But the 5D and this one both have the, this has the Capture Pro's Pro plate that the Canon has the normal plate from Peak Design. So these let me easily strap on to using the slide for easy carry, because with this one, this only goes around your neck and it stretches out the neck, whereas the slide, when you're moving, you can just move it, either have the camera across your chest or as hanging on your shoulder, but I always go across the chest. And in terms of ergonomics, I would say the biggest difference, or the only negative point I would say for the D810, because I've got pretty big hands and the grip is not exactly comfortable for me, at least. I find the bulkier, beefier grip on the 5D3 to be fantastic. So here it just feels a bit thin. It could, I mean, this part could, I would have been happier if this was a bit more further to the front, because then I could have better gripping area, whereas right now I'm gripping like this, I'm almost balancing it, because my fingers don't go around the grip area, whereas on the 5D3 I'm really clutching it and it won't fall at all, whereas here I'm partially clutching it. So that's the only negative point, but on the whole I'm pretty happy with the decision I made, and I think this is going to be quite a good camera overall. And well, yeah, I just want to keep the video as short as possible today, and yeah, I hope to follow up with a couple more vlogs, maybe over the weekend, because someone had posted a comment, I think in one of my past, on the previous vlog, about asking about Patek and the value of their complication watches versus their current pieces, and I want to address that question in a vlog itself. So thanks for watching. Apologies for spluttering and taking a while to catch my thoughts, because I'm quite sleep deprived. I'm on an assignment and I'll be working on that right throughout. But I thought I'd get these thoughts out of the way, so that I can focus on my work first of all, and come back. I won't have to do this video later on when things are fresh in my mind at the moment. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and most importantly, let me know what you think. If most likely you also shoot DSLR, what do you think? Should I have gone for maybe the A7R2? No, it is about, I think, $2,000 more than this body. The DX1, sorry, what am I saying? The 1DX2 and the D5 are both at like the $6,000 range, and for $6,000 you can basically get three D810s. And I really didn't see, being an enthusiast and hobbyist, I didn't see that making, well, being a sensible choice. But that's at the same time, I could have essentially opted for a single camera, as in a single 1DX2 that could have served the function of all these three, and serve an extra function. Basically, now if I want to do wildlife, None of these cameras are ideal, although the 70D would be adequate because it does 7 frames per second, and because of the APS-C, you get a bit more reach. Say if I get a 100 to 400, yeah, the reach is multiplied by 1.6 due to the crop factor. But that wouldn't be the best wildlife camera so far. I would think the best so far is, well, the best affordable is the 70 Mark II. But the 1DX2 is of course the champ in terms of its unlimited buffer, and yeah. So rather than going that route, I've gone this way. So basically I've got two cameras that are roughly in around the $2,000–$2,005 range for the bodies, and the rest of the funds I've put into lenses. But yes, at least those are my thoughts on the D810. And there's one more thing I forgot that is quite neat. If you're doing if you're shooting on a tripod, you can do mirror lockup and stuff, but sometimes light can creep in through from the prism side, so they've got a switch here to basically lock light out from here, which is neat. I mean, there's so many little bits and touches that it's not there on the Canon. And in terms of software, it has already inbuilt time lapse that can do an 8-hour long time lapse. It also has an interval timer. I don't think I've seen that before, and you can program EXIF data onto every single what you call snap, like your copyright information. You can have the camera load your entire configuration from the SD card or CF card. So if you have one CF card for wildlife, one CF card for portraits, as soon as you put it in, it'll load those settings. Yeah, I mean, there are so many nice touches that I'm surprised that I haven't seen them in the Canons, or I have missed them, which is strange because I have gone through all the menus as far as I can recall. But I will need to double check. If any of you pick on anything I said that's incorrect, do let me know so I can look it up. Thanks again, and until next time, bye.